From Israel with Love, audio bombs from a veteran of the Israel Defense Force, hosted by Ben Kerido.
Welcome back, everyone, to the From Israel with Love podcast. This is Ben Kerido coming to you as usual from Jerusalem, and today's topic is the real battle for the soul of the American nation. About 2.5 centuries ago in the city of Philadelphia, a man by the name of Thomas Jefferson became one of the most defining voices of the early American nation as the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. And this immortal document was hardly Jefferson's only contribution to the creation of the United States. He was also the first American Secretary of State, the third President of the United States, and an early influencer of the United States Constitution and other major policies. What is less known about Thomas Jefferson, however, is that he was actually unable to participate in the creation of the United States Constitution despite having been invited to do so. Why? Because in 1787, Thomas Jefferson was in Paris with a famed hero of the American Revolution, the French General Gilbert du Motier, Marquis de Lafayette. And I am sure that is a complete slaughtering of the attempt at proper French pronunciation. Anyway, in Paris, Jefferson assisted Lafayette in the drafting of the French document known in English as the Declaration of the Rights of Man and the Citizen. And no, I'm not going to try that one in French. This document in many ways resembles and even parallels the famous Declaration of Independence that Jefferson had created over a decade previously. But there was one very notable exception. The American Declaration of Independence mentions the Almighty Creator in one form or another at least 4 times. The French Declaration of the Rights of the Man and the Citizen intentionally omits any mentioning of the Most High whatsoever. In other words, from the very first moment that the United States was even conceived as an idea to be fought for, the great founding fathers declared that the new American nation preserved the rights bestowed upon them by the Almighty Creator, and that they relied upon His divine providence for their ultimate success and sustainment. But the French Revolution was an altogether different matter. The French masses had grown weary of the excesses and oppressive policies of the Bourbon monarchy, including Louis XVI and the infamous Marie Antoinette. And the corruption of the Roman Catholic Church in France had pushed many away from all forms of religion. The French Revolution was not only a rebellion against established authority, it was a nationwide rejection of anything or anyone who claimed to be empowered by or the representative of divinity. Instead, a unique form of secular humanism and virulent atheism spread like a wildfire throughout France. This humanistic atheism was so intense, and even bizarre in some cases, that the intellectual concept of reason was worshipped as a pseudo-goddess in what was called the cult of reason. The American Revolution established perhaps the greatest nation the world has ever seen, acknowledging a divine creator and guaranteeing constitutional freedoms inspired by biblical principles for all of its citizens. In fact, one could argue that America's historical failures, such as the slavery of African Americans, were the result of a deviation from those principles of morality that both a belief in the Most High and biblical precepts require, and that the Declaration of Independence and other founding documents of the United States emphasized. The French Revolution, on the other hand, immediately descended into reprehensible violence and chaos, with the streets of Paris quite literally running red with the blood of tens of thousands of victims executed by the so-called Holy Guillotine. And Napoleon Bonaparte, the conquering tyrant who waged war after war and killed millions of people, both soldiers and civilians, rose from the ashes of the French Revolution within about a decade and seized unrelinquished control. Despite having nearly identical political documents, similar influencers, and in some cases even the same historical figures as the creation of the United States, the French Revolution failed epically and miserably, arguably because they chose to remove the Almighty from every single part of it. The point is that no nation or society, much less a revolution, can thrive and prosper without reverence for the Most High and the corresponding blessings of divine providence. Indeed, former President Donald J. Trump has made this very point himself on many occasions, including his recent rally in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, after Biden's appallingly divisive speech on September 1st of 2022. Trump declared, "As long as we are confident and united, the tyrants we are fighting do not stand even a chance because we are Americans and Americans kneel to God and God alone." In opposition, from the first year that Donald J. Trump became the 45th President of the United States, Joe Biden has been declaring that there is a, quote, battle for the soul of the nation. While Biden uses the metaphor to maliciously insist that Donald Trump and anyone who votes for him is an extremist and the embodiment of evil, Biden, shockingly I dare say, is actually right about one thing. The battle for America is a spiritual struggle more than it is a political fight. Far more relevant than the differences between the quote-unquote right and the quote-unquote left is whether or not we as an American nation and society respect the Almighty and His biblical commandments, including treating our fellow human beings properly. The spiritual battle we face is not only against 21st century liberalism, a political movement that is morphing, as most far-left ideologies do, into humanistic atheism and deplorable debauchery. It is also within the ranks of those who profess to adhere to conservative principles and biblical values. When it comes to American conservative society, what is our spiritual status really? Do we act honestly in our business dealings, or do we steal? Do we maintain our marriages with the highest forms of fidelity, or do we commit adultery? Do we ensure that the most just and reasonable legal processes are followed, or do we bear false witness? Do we express contentment and gratitude for what we have been blessed with, or do we covet our neighbor's possessions? In the battle for the soul of the nation, we as Americans must all ask ourselves where we stand spiritually. And this is a very important concept, especially as we approach the Jewish holiday of Rosh Hashanah, or Jewish New Year, also referred to as the Feast of Trumpets, or Shofarot, referring to ram's horns. Basically, the key concept of Rosh Hashanah is that the entire world is judged on an annual basis, and this is the time when the Almighty Creator analyzes the spiritual status and the deeds of everyone, both Jewish and non-Jewish, all over the world. So this is a very timely concept. And as we assess where we stand spiritually, it's not enough to merely point the finger at the opposing side and reason amongst ourselves, well, they are worse than we are, so the Almighty will be on our side. The Tanakh, or Bible, makes it clear to us through such accounts as the stories of Achan at Jericho, or Jericho, and Yehoshua, or Joshua, chapter 7, that when there is sin in the camp, then there is no guarantee that the Most High will grant us victory. Because Achan disobeyed the Almighty's explicit commands and kept prohibited treasures from Jericho, or Jericho, Yehoshua ben Nun, Joshua the son of Nun, and the army of Israel suffered a humiliating defeat in their next battle in what should have been a simple conquest. And the Most High emphasized that He would not be with the people of Israel or grant them any more victories until the sin was removed from their camp entirely. Remembering the words of the Most High in Zechariah, or Zechariah, chapter 4, verse 6, Lo bechil ve'lo bechoch, ki im beruchi amar Hashem tzevot. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord of hosts. It is incumbent upon us as citizens of this great nation, founded in the acknowledgement of our divine Creator and rooted in biblical principles, that we ensure that we eradicate all sin in our camp and seek that the Most High go to battle with us and on our behalf. That is the true secret to the success of America, and that is the only way that we as Americans will continue to succeed in the future, securing life, liberty, and happiness for ourselves and for our future generations through the blessings of divine providence. This is Ben Kerido coming to you from Jerusalem. Over and out, and see you next time.
More from Ben and Sarai Kerido. The American Holocaust book series, a set of thriller novels and satirical parodies.
Could a Holocaust ever happen again, but in the United States? Is America on the brink of a deadly civil war? Are political leaders in bed with foreign enemy powers? Is the mainstream media a carefully contrived propaganda machine? Is there more to the story of global viruses? Is the Department of Justice a politicized weapon of witch hunts? Is Israel at risk of a nuclear attack from Iran? Is there any integrity left with U.S. elections? A great Jewish rabbi was once asked, "Could a Holocaust ever happen again?" The rabbi replied, "Early tomorrow morning." The American Holocaust, Early Tomorrow Morning. An Orwellian satirical parody exploring the ominous reality of the United States. Also be on the lookout for the sequels Hurricane and Civil War. Fiction, but barely. available for purchase on Amazon. More details at Intrepid Tower Publishing or itowerpublishing.com by Ben and Sarai Kerido.